It is going to $1 million a coin. So it's very clear to me that the number of people using Bitcoin or buying Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin, is growing like a weed. I think if you look at the trend, I think Bitcoin is going to replace the dollar. I think it's going to replace all forms of cryptocurrency, and things tend to a standard. We're gonna go to a standard. I think that standard is Bitcoin. We have a belief that we can stop this thing. We can't stop this thing. This is like, this is something that is bigger than all of us. It's just an idea that's just so good and so perfect that it will triumph regardless. Why is Bitcoin going up with the power law? And I think the reason is because adoption of Bitcoin is going up, right? And so that you can measure. What you can measure is the number of Bitcoin wallets, the number of Bitcoin wallets that hold, 1 million sats, the number of Bitcoin wallets that hold $1,000, the number of Bitcoin wallets that hold 1 Bitcoin. And all of those are power laws.
Fred Krueger, a Bitcoin maximalist holding a PhD in mathematics from Stanford University, shares insights in an interview with the YouTuber Crypto Nutshell. He delves into the implications of the power law on Bitcoin, providing a mathematical framework to understand its historical price trends. This analysis reveals a power law distribution when plotted on a log-log scale, indicating a correlation between time and price dynamics. Krueger elaborates on the findings of mathematician and physics professor Giovanni Santostasi, who pioneered the analysis. Santostasi's power law model for predicting Bitcoin's price suggests a remarkable forecast: $10 million per BTC by 2045. As we bring you clips from the podcast, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more video like this. You can join the conversation by dropping your thoughts, comments, and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel growth. Thank you and enjoy the video.
Right? So it's very clear to me that the number of people using Bitcoin or buying Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin, is growing like a weed. It's not growing quite as fast as the price of Bitcoin, which is normal, right? The price of Bitcoin should be growing faster than the number of people who own Bitcoin. But the number of people who own Bitcoin is growing like a power law. And why is that? Why is Bitcoin useful for all these people? Well, because it's a very secure way to hold money outside the system, outside the banking system, right? You can hold it outside the banking system. You can move it outside the banking system, and you can send it to anybody you want, anywhere in the world, for very little, right? So it works, it works as a way to store, it's a new form of money. I think it's the new form of money, right? It's going to replace all other forms of money. And I really, I think Saylor probably knows that, but I don't think he can politically say that. But I will say it. I'd say Bitcoin's going to replace fiat. Now, if you're talking about replacing the dollar right now, it looks a little ridiculous, right? Because Bitcoin's just, $1 trillion, and there's hundreds of trillions of dollars of dollar assets and bonds and everything else, right? So it looks like a pipsqueak, trying to poke, taking a fight with a giant. But I think if you look at the trend, I think Bitcoin is going to replace the dollar.
In a separate development, many Bitcoin advocates envision a future where Bitcoin could supplant the dollar. Mike Belshe, CEO of BITGO, at the Consensus Conference 2024, shared his insights during an interview with Michelle McCory, chief editor of BITGO News. Belshe predicts that Bitcoin's value will soar to between $125,000 and $135,000 by the end of 2024. Furthermore, he firmly asserts that Bitcoin will eventually replace the US dollar, citing the anticipated weakness of the dollar as a key factor driving this transition.
investments are all on a scale of risk, right? And so there's certainly some number of hedge funds that are super aggressive on risk. They got into Bitcoin without even having to have an ETF. What the ETF unlocks is a set that have a lower tolerance for risk, where they don't know how to assemble all of the parts. Where are they going to source liquidity? How are they going to manage it? Who's going to do their custody, et cetera? So the ETF provides all of that in a bundle, in a package that doesn't really have any regulatory risk to them because it's been vetted by the SEC. So it opens up the conservative half. And ultimately that does get to large pension funds, retirement funds, et cetera. That's where some of the largest pools of money in the world are.
So given you were so spot on with your price forecast last time, what do you call for the end of 2024 for the price of Bitcoin?
I think we'll be somewhere around 125 to 135K. Anyway, that macro climate influences the idea that that Bitcoin is kind of the next gold. Look, there's not an alternative reserve currency that looks super strong. Obviously, you've got BRICS trying to eat away at the dollar demand side by doing more purchases outside of the dollar. So far, those have been relatively small scale, but that's going to continue to grow. Unfortunately, the US with sanctions controls, I'm not against the sanction controls, I'm not for it, I'm just pointing out, every time the US says, we are going to maintain power over your dollar, and if you don't do what we want you to, foreign policy-wise, we're going to take it away, which is what we did to Russia badly. You can love it or hate it, but that's what we did. We put every single dollar holder on notice that we may do it to them in the future as well. And so if you don't think the Middle East is worried about that, well, you're not paying attention. So, all right, the US debt crisis is one thing. Foreign policy and sanctions controls is another. BRICS providing alternate payment systems. Frankly, digital technology providing payment systems that go across border seamlessly. We're now like, wait a minute, we don't need these financial institution gateway powerhouses to necessarily move payments between parties. So all of this is going to eat away at the dollar. That is the narrative of why Bitcoin exists. The dollar is going to get weaker. The government of the US will continue to print more. Your dollar is going down, my dollar is going down. Get off the dollar.
Mike believes that adoption by institutional funds will inevitably lead to the inclusion of Bitcoin and Bitcoin ETFs. This development is crucial, as these trends signify potentially greater adoption of digital currency, thereby attracting more participants. Consequently, this could weaken the dollar's position and ultimately pave the way for its replacement. Let's get back to Fred's analysis.
It is going to $1 million a coin, regardless. Regardless, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Now, I know, like, as a person who follows finance and stuff, I'm like, yay, they're going to cut interest rates. Yay, we're going to liberalize this. But actually, I don't think it matters. I think that's, again, we have a belief that we can stop this thing. We can't stop this thing. This is like, this is something that is bigger than all of us. It's just an idea that's just so good and so perfect that it will triumph regardless. And you just look at this mathematical progress of the power law, and it's math. It's just like, it's sort of like they invented guns. It doesn't matter if they outlaw guns in certain countries. Everybody's going to go for guns, because they're better than swords. You know what I mean? And so this is a better technology. It's just going to work. And I think Satoshi knew this, right? When he once this thing was once the capstone was put in the first Genesis block. So I think Satoshi fundamentally knew that he cracked the problem, right? He's like, yep, I got the solution. This is going to work. We're not going to get this immediately, but it's going to catch on. And, Hal Finney kind of was like, very early, is like, yep, this thing could be worth $10 million a coin. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to make us very rich if you commit to it.
I'd love to get your thoughts on the opportunity that people have today of buying Bitcoin versus a few generations ago in buying a house or buying property.
Nothing wrong about owning property. It's a great thing. I prefer to own where I live than to rent. This is no doubt, right? However, I would say buying a house at 7% interest when the houses have appreciated this far, locking yourself into just paying house payments and missing out on this opportunity of Bitcoin strikes me as an incredibly bad trade, right? Like, you are potentially making, you're not going to get, and I think the thing about Bitcoin is your generation is not going to see another one of these things that easily, you know, they may, I mean, there is going to be some amazing AI stuff coming, but it's not necessarily clear that you're going to be able to even invest in or participate in any way, right? It may in fact take your job, right? Like, you don't really know if AI is friendly or not, right? But I think, you have this opportunity. Bitcoin is like right here in front of you. It's a great opportunity right now. And my point is, you're not going to see, you wait another 10 years, and you're 36, you're not going to see that, you may not see that opportunity again. You know what I mean? Like in your entire life. So I definitely think this is a make or break moment for a lot of millennials and Gen Zs. It's a make or break moment, right? Because if they make the wrong move, that's it. They're done. You could basically be locking out, the best period of best years of your life to acquire any kind of wealth. If you haven't acquired some kind of wealth by the time you're 40, it's going to be tough. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's, it gets tough. You know what I mean? Time you're 50, forget it now. Like you better have nailed it, because it's just, I mean, there are some examples. The guy who started McDonald's started in his 50s, right? But, in general, you kind of got to acquire wealth early. So I would say owning real estate right now is not a great way to acquire wealth. Was it a great way to do wealth? Even in the 80s, you would have been better off buying stocks. Okay. So, really what you should have done in the 80s is going long the stock market. Very few people did, right? It was a very similar to kind of where we are now with Bitcoin, because people always said stocks were overpriced back then. They were like, this is crazy PE, 12 PE, that's crazy. Like, why would I buy stocks at 12 PE? Well, because it was a great buy, right? Like, that was amazing, right? And hindsight's 2020. But I think, I really think right now real estate is if you really shouldn't look at it as an investment. You should look at it as a cost. It's going to cost you something to live. And, it's really how much cost do you want in your life versus how much savings do you want to do? I would recommend people save more, and I would recommend that they save in Bitcoin. I think that you're going to be better off saving in Bitcoin. Any analysis you do, you're going to be better off saving in Bitcoin as opposed to saving in your house. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. And I think, you kind of have to go, as Wayne Gretzky said, you have to go where don't skate where the puck is, skate where the puck's going, And so you got to be a little bit one step ahead of the game. And, real estate's for boomers like me, like you don't need, you should be wherever you want to be, whether it's Budapest or Thailand or where, go rent where it's cheap. It's cheap somewhere to rent, right? There's always somewhere where you can rent cheap, right? And I'd say if I were your age, I would not maybe even move to place. I'd be a little bit like you, just be a little bit of a nomad, but I would opportunistically look to live where I would look to live outside of major cities where it's cheap, and then I would look to do stuff online or remote work, right? And I would look to do that and save in Bitcoin. I think it's that's the cheat sheet. And the problem is, if you're living in San Francisco or New York City, right, you're you may work for a financial firm in New York City, or you may work for, a tech giant in San Francisco. But if you're spending all your money on rent, right, or, a parking garage for your car or whatever it is, right, that's not going to make you tons and tons of money right now. So I definitely think, this is a great time to be stacking sats, especially the next 5 years. I think, if you can delay things 5 years, delay things 5 years. And, I think that's in general it's a good, there's not always been this time. Like right now, I see this opportunity. If you go back to 2000, I would say, what are you going to do? Buy a house, that seems like a good place to put your money, Right now, I don't think it's a good place to put your money. I would stay away from real estate.
And that concludes today's video, spotlighting Fred Krueger's analysis of Bitcoin and the next groundbreaking technology poised to revolutionize the world. These advancements are projected to significantly reshape the future of currency over the next 2 to 3 decades. We're eager to hear your thoughts on Mike Belshe's audacious forecast regarding Bitcoin and the potential weakening of the dollar. Did you find this discussion insightful? Please share your comments and observations in the section below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.